Good morning, everyone. Can you see me? Good morning, Drupadi, Ashitash, Lokanath, and Ganesh, Jitin, Sriram, Ashwani, Safna. Good morning, everyone. Let me just put it on my phone also just to confirm that I can see all of you, and then we'll start off. Also, just to confirm that I can see. Okay. Alright, friends, just a minute. Let me just confirm that I'm connected. Yes, I'm connected in both the platforms. YouTube.com/live. Yes. Alright, I can see you all. I can see your chats also. Let's start off now, friends. So we are left with two more questions now. One is corporate valuation, and the other one is one corporate restructuring question. Alright. So, friends, even before I go forward for this question, friends, I took a poll yesterday. I hope you were a part of that poll. I took two things. Now, after today, I'll be taking SEMPE RTP. Once that gets over, what should I do next? So the options were MTP. It was international finance, then derivative steady material problems, which are much more complex, SFM theory, and costing case studies. Friends, when I took the ranking, rank 1 was IFM and derivative steady material. Rank 2 was SFM theory, rank 3 was SCMPE case study, and rank 4 was MTP. If you have not voted in this, please go to my Telegram channel. I believe you can see the link that is given in the video itself. It's given t.me/Tarun_Jagdish. If this is the case, I will be, once it gets over, next I'll start off with IFM steady material problems. After which I'll be doing SFM theory. Okay. Then if time permits, I'll go to SCMP case study. Alright. So I'll go a little fast from today. And I also took a poll whether I should go fast without waiting time and whether I should go with waiting time. 53% people say I should give waiting time. 47% people say I don't have to give you any waiting time. Now I'm in a fix because one of the things that I did not mention in that point would be if I go a little faster, I can cover a little more. So today let me try. I will be going a little fast. Okay. After which I will take a poll in my Telegram channel. Was I fast today? Please give your feedbacks over there so I'll get a clear answer as to whether I'm going fast or whether I'm going slow. What I will do today is I will show you the question, 1 minute reading time for the question. I will solve it on the board. You can parallelly solve it along with me. Once I finish the problem, I'll give you 1 minute time to read through it once again. So you will understand the whole thing and I will share the notes also with you. Maybe if that way you are comfortable, we can cover more syllabus. That is the only objective. Alright. But if you are not comfortable in the board, be very honest. I am not able to follow. Please slow down. What I will do tomorrow, I will slow it down again. Alright. Now come on. Your 1 minute starts now. Please read through question number 12 on corporate valuation. Your 1 minute starts now. Time's up. Let's do it together now. This is a question on business bait. I'll just go down. You can scroll through the remaining part of the question also. Just read through this part now. Alright. exam point of view, don't waste your time reading. Directly write down the basic data. That way you will understand questions better. Working note number 1, basic data. Okay. Point number A. They have given the following information, having a growth rate of how much? 20%. Growth rate for 3 years, 20%. After which the growth rate will stabilize at how much percentage? 8%. Okay. So stable growth rate will be how much percentage? It will be 8%. Alright. Point number C. Let's go to the remaining part. They have given the revenue, cost of goods sold, operating expense, etc. etc. Operating expense depreciation is included in that. During the high growth period, revenue and EBIT will grow at 20%. Already we wrote down. Capex net of depreciation will grow at 15% per annum. So I'll write down Capex net of depreciation will grow at how much percent per annum? 15% per annum. Alright. From year 4 onwards, normal growth period revenues and EBIT will grow at how much? 8%. So stable growth rate already we have told. But Capex will be offset by depreciation. During year 4 onwards, Capex will be offset by depreciation. Alright, next part. During both high and normal growth rate, working capital will turn out to be 25% of the revenues. Alright. Okay. So once you put up till here, we are done. Down they have told WACC is 15%. And point number G, they have given the tax rate also. Tax rate is how much? 30%. I'll give you a minute's time. Just read, understand the basic data, think what they are trying to ask over here. Then we will go to the next part. Alright. Alright friends, so once you read through it, now basically they are asking you to find out the value using free cash flow method. Friends, I have already told you, I'll write down over here again, working note number 2, value of the firm. Okay, so friends, value of a firm is present value of future cash flows. This is what we started our RTP with, and there are two parts coming over here. One is called as present value and the other one is called as future cash flows. Future cash flows can be found out using the formula future profit after tax plus depreciation minus capex minus additional working capital. So profit, you add back depreciation, you get the cash profit, minus capex will give you the cash flow, minus working capital will again give you the final cash flow in your hand. Okay. Now here PAT should be before interest because we are thinking from both equity and debt point of view. Whereas present value has to be found out using WACC. As I told you, I am talking from both equity and debt point of view. So WACC, the formula would be KE into weight of equity plus KD into weight of debt. If you are talking only from equity point of view, then the equation will change. I will take only KE over here and future cash flow in that case would be only profit after tax after interest also. I hope you are clear with this part, friends. So value of a firm is nothing but present value of future cash flows. So we have to go by two steps. Step number 1, future cash flow. Step number 2 is what? Present value. So I'll go to the next working note now. Future cash flow. Particulars. We are having year 0 data given over here. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 is what? High growth. And year 4 onwards it's going to be what? Stable growth. Alright. Now let's check the question. What are the details given over here? Have they given the revenue? How much is the revenue? 7,500. Have they given the cost of goods sold? How much is that? Is it turning out to be 3,000 crore? Have they given the operating expense? Okay. How much is that? 2250 minus 600. That will be 1650. Okay. Then they have given the capex, that we will take it separately. I will then show depreciation over here. Okay. How is the depreciation that they have given over here? Can you tell me? 600 crore. Alright. From this, can I find out my profit before tax? How much is that turning out to be? It will be 2250. Am I right? Okay. Now I believe this is EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes. Alright. From this, what am I going to reduce? Interest I will not reduce, as I am talking from overall point of view. I will be just reducing the tax flat. How much is the tax rate told over here? 30%. I'll get the number as how much? 675. Point number G would be earnings after tax. So my earnings after tax would turn out to be 1575. Alright. I'll go to the next page. Alright. So here you get the answer as earnings after tax. I just carry forward that over here. Earnings after tax or profit after tax turns out to be 1575. What will I do to this now? I will add back depreciation, okay, less capex, less additional working capital. Once I do this, what will I get over here? I will get the free cash flow. So add back depreciation would mean I would add back the same 600 over here now. Less capex. How much is the capex told in the question? Is it minus 750? Okay. And they have given the working capital as 25%. So 7,500 into 0.25 would be 1875. Okay. Friends, this is not relevant. Why? Because it is year 0. That is the audited financials. We should focus only from year 1 onwards. Everybody clear? So I will now, based on this, find out the data for year 1, 2, 3, etc. Have we learned that the growth rate is going to be 20% for revenue and everything? Capex and depreciation will be how much percentage? 15%. So 7,500 in plus 20%. That would give you the number as 9,000, 10,800, 12,960, and after 3 years it's going to become stable. Stable means what is going to be the growth rate then? 8%. So the formula would be 12,960 into 1.08. That is 13,996.8. Similarly, all these things will also go in the same pace. So it will be 3,600 coming over here, 4,320, 5,184. After this, it will be 1.08. That is 5,598. Okay. Operating expense also in the same way. 1980, 2376, 2851. Then it will be 3079. Okay. Depreciation have they told at 15%. I will tell you a shortcut method that you can you can use. You just do 1.15, 15%, right? Just do 1.15 in your calculator into 600, okay, equal to, you got the answer as 690. Again press equal to, you will get the answer as 793. You don't have to again and again multiply with 1.5. Again equal to, you will get 912.52. In the 4th year, it is going to be offset with the capex, means we are not bothered about that actually. Okay, so let's not consider that as far as the equation is concerned. Now let us come from this. What can we find out? We can find out the EBIT. Okay, and once you get the EBIT, reduce what? Tax, and we can find out the EAT. I will give you a minute's time. Can you do this part on your own? This is a little heavy calculation. I will give you some writing time. Please write down and tell me the answers that you get for 1, 2, 3 and 4. Friends, here we have to show 8%. Okay, 912.52 into 1.08, that is 985. 1 minute. Oh, there is a calculation mistake in depreciation. 1 minute. Alright, friend, there's an assumption difference. 1 minute, let me make the correction. The correction is depreciation would ideally go up by 20%, but later on, capex net of depreciation is going to grow by 15%. So this I would take it at 20%, friends. Let me just rework. This would be 720 over here. It would be 864 over here. 1036.8. After that, 1.08. That will be 1119.74. So the remaining workings will also change. I will explain you. Please write down till here in your books first. Good morning, Ratna Kumari, Rajesh, Chitralekha, Safna, Ashwani, Sriram, Jitin, Ganesh, Aishwarya Thomas. We are taking capex. It's coming in the next page. Capex doesn't affect your profits. Am I right? It is something which comes after your profits. Please tell me the answers one by one, okay? Put in the chat box so I can go to the next page after that. It would be 2700 in the first case. It will be 3888.2 for the next one. $4,200 for the last one. Alright. So from here, let me take it forward. The tax rate is given as how much percentage? Tax rate was 30%, so 0.3 constant into 2,700 would be 810. 3240 would be 972. 1166. And it will be 1260. Okay. So we would get the answer as 1890. Okay, second one would be 2268. Next one would be 2722.2. The last one would be 2940. Alright. So once you get these numbers, I'll carry forward these numbers to the next page now. That is 1890, 2268, 2722, 2940. Alright, add back. What we'll do here is, this is where I made a mistake, friends. So let's correct that part. Capex net of depreciation is increasing at 15%. So that might be the effect of capex. So I will put it over here in this way. Capex less depreciation. How much was the capex that is told over here? 750, depreciation is 600. So what is the net effect that you get over here? 150 I will reduce, okay, because capex is more. Now this 150 is going to increase at how much percentage? 15%. So it will be 172.5. Okay, I will have to reduce 198.37. Then it is 228.13, and the last one will be nullified, that will be 0. All right, additional working capital would be, let's say it's 9,000 minus 7,500, that is 1,500 extra has come on that 25%, that would be 375. Next one, the formula would be 10,800 minus 9,000 into 0.25, that would be minus 450. Next one would be 12,960 minus 10,800 into 0.25, that is minus 540. And the last period, it's going to be 13,966 996.8 minus 12,960 into 0.25, that is 259.2. From this, now we can find out what? We can find out the free cash flow. 1890 minus 172.5 minus 375 will give you 1342.5. 2268 minus 198.37 minus 450 would give you 1619. Okay, 2722 minus 228.13 minus 540 would give you 1953.87. 2940 minus 259.2 would give you 2680. I will give you a minute's time. Can you please write down this and just finish it off? Let me confirm. Yes, the numbers are right. Alright friends, once you are done, please chat and let me know that you are done. Alright friends, are you done with this? Okay, now listen. Year 1, year 2 and year 3, these are high growth cash flows. They are growing at 20%. This is a stable cash flow and this goes towards perpetuity. It goes forever. So to get the value, I will go by 2 steps. Step number 1, present value of high growth cash flow. Step number 2, present value of stable cash flow. Alright, so I'll write down the next working note heading. Okay, value of business. Step number 1 will be what? Present value of high growth cash flow. Okay, year cash flow, discount factor, discounted cash flow, year 1, year 2, year 3. What are the cash flows? 1342, point something you can write down, 1619, and what is the last one? 1954. What is the discount factor that is mentioned in the question, friends? Is it told to be 15%? Okay, 15%. That will be 0.869. Okay, 0.756, 0.657. Alright, so the answer what you get would be 1342 into 0.869, that is 1166.19. 1619 into 0.756 will be 1223.96 into 0.657 would be 1283.77. Alright, 0.19 plus 1223.96 plus 1283. I'll be getting the answer as 3673.92. The second step, I'll do it here only. I'll write down over here. Step number 2, present value of stable cash flow. Now this is sensitive. Everyone interact and listen carefully. Okay. We have learned the formula for perpetuity. P0 is equal to D1 divided by K minus G. Just like this, value 0 should be equal to cash flow 1 divided by WACC minus G. In the question, we are having cash flow at the end of year 4. So 2680 is cash flow not 1, it is cash flow 4 divided by 15% minus. What is the growth rate that is told in the question? Have they told it to be 8%? This will give you value at the end of year 3. 2680 divided by 7% would be 38,286. 38,286. Therefore, value at the end of year 0 would be 38,286 multiplied by 0.657. That would turn out to be 25,153. Can you write down this? Sriram, WACC is the return of the firm as a whole. What you said is perfectly right. Are you done? Please chat and let me know that you are done. So I'll go to the next part then. Okay. Sachin, this 0.65 is coming from here. It's basically this, you get the value at the end of year 3. So to get into year 0, I have to again take the present value of this with the third year discount factor. That's what I'm doing over here. Okay, Rajesh, you are done. Okay, can I go to the next part now? Alright friends, so we'll go to the next part now. Okay, so we are done with this part. Now I'll write down conclusion. Value would be point number A, present value of high growth cash flow and plus present value of stable growth cash flow. So high growth cash flow, we got the answer as how much? 3673.92. Stable growth cash flow, we got the answer as how much? 25,153. So once you add up these two things, you will get the number as how much? 28,826. Can you please write down this in your books and finish it off? So we are done with this question. Alright friends, are you done with this? Shall we go to the next part now? So we are done with this question. Let's go to the next question now. Question number 13. Can you just read through this question now? This is a question on corporate restructuring. This should come in your FR syllabus, but they will put these questions in your SFM part also. So I'm not going to solve this problem as such. This is something what you learn in your FR. I will show you the solution. We'll discuss and we'll finish it off. Alright? Alright, so this is the balance sheet. I hope you're clear with the balance sheet. Down they have given some more details. Alright, let's come down further now. They have given these details also over here. Just read through it. Alright, so basically what are they doing over here? This company is in total loss. P&L account shows 525 lakh of loss. Preliminary expense 10 lakh or crore in lakhs. 10 lakh of loss. Then you are having cost of issue of debentures another 5 lakhs of loss. All these losses have got accumulated. So total is around 540 lakhs of losses there. Now what are they doing? They are going to reduce the equity share to how much? 25 rupees fully paid up. As of now equity share is how much? 100 rupee each. One shot you bring it down to 25 rupees, you will be saving almost 75%. You don't have to repay them back. Okay. Ratna Kumari, yes, after I complete SCMP, RTP, I am planning to do the international finance study material questions for SFM because that is what has got the highest poll. That is why. Okay. And then I will take another poll for the costing students. Let's see how it's working out. Based on whatever the maximum students want, I will be doing that. So friends, here, similarly, preference share, coupon rate of 10%, they will be reduced to equal number of shares of 50 rupees each. So look over here. Here, what are they having? They are having preference share of 100 rupees each. Now they will be converting 14%. They will bring it to 10%, equivalent number of shares to how much? 50 rupees each. Debenture holders have agreed to forego the accrued interest due to them. In future, the rate of interest will be reduced to how much percentage? 9%. Right now, the rate of debenture is how much? 13%. That is coming to 200 lakhs. Now, future the interest will be only how much? 9%. Next, they have told trade creditors will forego 25% of the amount to them. How much is the value of trade creditors? 340. Now, out of the 340 into 0.25, they will write it off. 85 lakhs will be written off. Company has issued 6 lakh new equity share at 25 rupees each. That is a cash inflow. 6 into 25, 150 lakh of cash will come into the company. Once cash comes into the company, here the cash is 130. Now it will be 130 plus 150, that is equivalent to 280. Land and building was to be revalued at 450 lakhs. Revaluation will come. Plant and machinery is to be written down by 120 lakhs. Provision of 15 lakhs had to be made for bad debts. Now they are asking you to prepare a fresh balance sheet. I will just take the solution now. Look. What we'll do is we'll check the benefits. Look over here. Equity share reduced. 6 lakh into 75 rupees per share saved. 450 lakhs is saved over there. 2 lakh shares into 50 rupees per share is also saved over here now. Outstanding debenture is waived out, that is 26 lakhs. How did you get this 26 lakh, friends? The debenture amount into 13%, 200 lakhs into 13%. Trade creditors waiver total 661 lakhs. Land has been revalued, okay, so 450 lakh is a new value, old value was 200 lakhs, 250 lakhs went up. Total benefit that they are doing due to restructuring is 911. Keeping this 911, now what will they do? P&L account will be written off 525. Cost of debenture written off. Preliminary expense written off. They will create a new provision for bad and doubtful debts. Plant and machinery is revalued downward. So 120 lakh of loss. Even after you do all these things, you have a capital reserve of 236. So based on this, we'll draw a new balance sheet. equity will come down to 25, preference share 50, capital reserve will come, debenture will be same value but the interest has become 9%, loan from bank, creditors has come down, debtors we have made a provision for back end doubtful debts, cash in bank is 280. How did you get this 280? Earlier was 150, 130 plus 150 of new money has come into the company. That's it, and then with that you're done with restructuring. I'll give you a minute, read through this, after which we will go to the theory part of SFM, which is coming in the RTP. Okay, Ratnakumari, you want me to explain the Sunidhi problem? Okay. Let's see if we are having time now, we'll do it right away now. I think majority request has come for two questions. One is the Sunidhi problem many students are asking, and the other one is bond refunding. How to do a bond refunding problem. I'm thinking maybe tomorrow either I'll do of these two problems and then from Saturday I'll start off with SEMPE. This is what's running in my mind now. Let's see. Alright. Alright friends, so we are done with this part. Can we go to the next one? Only capital reserve, the remaining reserves has been washed out. Is that right? Am I right? Just go and check. The company has been reconstructed. So once you get reconstructed, do you have a revaluation reserve left with you is my question. Is there any revaluation reserve in this question? It's anyways not there. Your doubt is that whether we should be showing revaluation reserve and CRR etc. Is it? See, an FR faculty is better to answer that question. Please check up with them. I'm not an expert in that area. Please check with them. Alright. So friends, we are done with this part also. Let us now go to the theory. These are the questions of theory. I'll just show you how I will be taking theory class later on also, because majority polling has come for, first one was IFM and derivative steady material question and the next one was SFM theory. Yes. I'll just explain to you how we are going to take it forward. 1 minute. Where do I have the theory? It's here. Yes. Alright friends, so let's just do the theory. I will just directly show you these questions and then we will take it forward. Okay. The first question in that RTP is, what are the key decisions which will fall within the scope of financial strategy? This is a question what you learned in your IPCC or your inter classes also. Financing decision, investment decision, dividend decision, portfolio decision. Portfolio decision actually comes under investment decision. Mainly there are three decisions: financing, investing, dividend. Financing means how do I take funds? Okay, from where do I take funds at the optimum cost? Should I go by equity or should I go by debt? Investment decisions basically where and how should I invest my money. Dividend decision is that how much money should I distribute to the shareholders. Alright, this is a very basic question. Just they are asking what are the three key decisions. They are financing, investing and dividend. The next question in your RTP is about financial risk. They are asking you what exactly is financial risk. I will give you an example for financial risk. Suppose A, he has sold goods to B. Okay, A is in India, B is in USA. I have sold goods for $1 lakh to Today the spot price is, let us say, 70 rupees. So ideally how much money A should get? 70 lakhs. Suddenly he says, I will not pay you now, I will pay you after 1 month. Now after 1 month the rate might not be 70, the rate might become 65 rupees per dollar. If it comes down to 65 rupees per dollar, you will get the value as how much? 65 lakh. One shot you are losing how much money over here? 5 lakhs. This is an example of financial risk. Alright. So financial risk is basically, you are supposed to get 100 rupee, you don't get 100 rupee, you get 95 rupee or you get 97 rupee, etc. That is what we call it as financial risk. Okay. So here there are various points in which you can have financial risk. One is change in the price. As I told you, dollar was 70, dollar became 65. That is option number one. Option number two is change in the credit rating. Change in the credit rating would mean, earlier I was having a better credit rating, now my credit rating came down, because of which my interest rate goes up. I end up paying more interest. That's another example of financial risk. Change in the interest rate. RBI itself increases the rates. I can't do anything. It's also another risk which is called as financial risk. Friends, this financial risk can be evaluated from 3 points of views. Point number one, company point of view. Point number two, stakeholder point of view. Point number three, government point of view. Let's do it one by one. Point number one, company point of view. Friends, company point of view, if you lend to someone who is defaulting, I give my loan to someone, that guy doesn't pay me money back, I am at a loss. That is a financial risk that a company is facing. Stakeholder point of view, I am an investor in a company. I have equity share. There are lenders also in the company. Lenders will get money first. I will get money only later. So I have a risk involved that tomorrow if the company goes at a loss, lender will somehow make their money. I will never get back my money. Government point of view, they are worried about cases like Yes Bank. Do you remember the case of Yes Bank? The bank collapsed. They had wrong reserves, wrong profits. It suddenly went into a loss. And then they did not allow people to withdraw more than 10,000. My own money, I have put in the bank. Now they are not allowing me to withdraw my own money for my own purpose. That became very frustrating. I hope you are clear. I will give you a minute, read through it, after which I will go to the next theory question. Alright, can I go to the next one now? Next question, what they are asking is, tell some market indicators. Friends, what do you mean by the word market indicator? Market indicator means whether the market is going up or the market is coming down. Okay, or in other words, this is called as a bull market. And this one is called as a bear market. Are you all clear with this part? Yes, SBI is taking over. That's correct, Sriram. But until SBI took over, people were in a panic mode. Suppose SBI did not take over, their life would have become miserable. Correct? So now, here there are mainly the following market indicators. One is breadth index. Other one is volume of transaction, third one is confidence index, and fourth one is relative strength index. Okay, let us start with the first one, breadth index. Friends, breadth index is basically what it will do is it will cover all the securities traded in the market. Okay, so for example, if I am talking about Nifty, Nifty is having how many securities? It is having 50 securities. Okay. Each of the security will either have an advance or it will have a decline. Advance means it is going up. Decline means it is falling down. Okay. For example, Infosys is going up, it will be one advance. Okay. Let's say Reliance is falling down, one decline. Like that, they will take how many securities are advancing, how many securities are declining. Once you get the number, let us say I'm getting 50 securities are going up. Okay. Or let us say 40 securities are going up, 10 securities are falling down. What is the net advance that you are getting over here? Do you get the net advance as 30 over here? 30 is the thing divided by, let us say, 50. 30 divided by 50, do I get the answer as 0.6 over here? It means 0.6 out of 1 shares are going up. Hence, is it a bull market or a bear market? Hence, it will become a bull market. I can show you this practically also now. Just give me a minute. I'll just go on breadth index of NSE. Look, this is the data for September. There has been 867 advances and there has been 108 declines that has happened. Okay, so the advance to decline ratio over here is 0.86, which means for every one decline there is only 0.86 advance. So tell me, if this is the data given to you, is it a bull market or is it a bear market? It means you are in a bear market. The market is falling down. Whereas in August, 1494 advances, 852 declines. You get the ratio as how much? 1.75. It means for every one decline, you have 1.75 advances, and hence it is a bull market or a bear market. It turns out to be a bull market. I hope you are understanding what we are trying to say over here. This is what we find out using the index called as what? Breadth index. Everybody clear with breadth index now? Can I go to the next part? The next part is volume of transactions. Here in NSE or anywhere you can go and check what is the volume of transaction traded. Okay, the volume of transaction depends on two main transactions: volume of transaction. Either you will buy or you will sell. Suppose I am doing 100 buy and I am doing only 40 sell. Okay, what does it mean? Buy is more than sell means, is it a bull market or a bear market? It will be a bull market. But suppose the buy is only 40 and sell is 100, people are selling more, price will fall down, it will become a bear market. I hope you have understood the practical logic of what is a volume of transaction also. So friends, we learned what is breadth index, we learned what is volume of transaction. Next is called as confidence index. Confidence index means how much investors are willing to take a chance in the market. I will explain this to you. Confidence index. Okay, there are two types of bonds. One is called high grade bond. Okay, other one is called as low grade bond. Okay, high grade bond means high risk bond. Low grade bond means low risk bond. So high grade bond, you will have higher interest you will get in your hands, but there is a risk of default. Low grade bond will have a lower interest but lower risk of default. Okay, now we can actually check. Investor can put their money in high grade bond or they can put their money in low grade bond. They will take a formula: high grade bond divided by low grade bond. Suppose 10 people took high grade bond, only 2 people took low grade bond. You get the ratio as how much? 5. It means for every 1 low grade bond invested, 5 high grade bonds are there. This means investor is confident that the market is going to go up. Only if investor is confident, he will take risk. Understood? So confidence index tells you whether the investor is confident or no. So this ratio, if it is greater than 1, means it is a positive confidence, it's a bull market. If it is less than 1, it is called as a bear market. I hope you are clear with this part also, friends. Can I go to the next one now? Relative strength analysis. Okay. Relative strength. Now this can't decide whether the market is bull or bear. This is basically analyzing some security. There are some securities which when the market is positive, it will go up. But when the market is bearish, it will not fall down too much. Some securities are very strong, very much strongly backed, powerful securities. Such securities are told as a security is having a very good relative strength. Now, how do you decide whether a security is having a relative strength? Take the past 10-year data. When the market goes up, is it going up? Yes. Market falling down, is it falling down too much or just falling down less? Based on that, you will decide how much is the. Shiva, please share theory of theory. What is that, Shiva? Can you please explain to me? Next one is called as odd lot theory. Odd lot theory is something which Warren Buffett believes in. He says that average person is normally wrong. Average person, majority people will put their money, but they don't have much idea about the market. They are putting the money based on tips. They will keep asking over here, where do I put my money? Where do I put my money? Such people are only depending on market rumors. In ideal scenario, you should not put your money in that manner. You should invest your money by thinking properly, create a strategy, study the company, use Gordon's model, Walter's model, Black-Scholes model. Many models are there. Use them, analyze, and only then put your money in the share market. Alright? Shiva, did you mean share the PPT of the theory? Alright. So this is the 4-5 points that we learned. Breadth index, volume of transaction, confidence index, relative strength index, and what is the last one? Odd lot theory. I'll go to the next part of theory now. Problems faced in the growth of securitization. First, let me explain to you what is securitization. I would say securitization is nothing but factoring arrangement which is done in a more formal manner. That's all. So I'll take an example of factoring so you understand what exactly is securitization. Suppose there are 3 people. Let's say the first one is, I will take some film actor's name. First guy is a very, very decent actor. Who is a decent actor in Bollywood industry? Let me take Shah Rukh Khan. Assuming Shah Rukh Khan is very, very decent. Tell me a cunning actor in Bollywood industry. Let us assume Salman Khan. Okay. And now let us assume, tell me one professional gunda in film industry. We will talk about Dawood Ibrahim. Assume Shah Rukh Khan has sold goods to Salman Khan for a value of 100 lakhs. Now Salman Khan is supposed to make payment to Shah Rukh Khan. Shah Rukh Khan keeps on calling. Salman Khan doesn't attend his call. He doesn't pay back the money. Shah Rukh Khan is frustrated. Finally, Shah Rukh Khan will say, look, I have debtors of 100 lakhs. I would like to hand over this debtor to you. You take this debtors as security and give me 80 lakhs as advance. I will get my money. After I get my money, you go fight with Salman Khan, get the entire 100 lakhs, in which you can take 20 lakhs as your factoring commission. This whole scenario is in a simple language, what we call it as factoring, or do it in a more formal manner, we call it as securitization. What he is doing over here, Shah Rukh Khan is having debtors, he is transferring this asset to Dawood Ibrahim, and by transferring the asset, he is taking a loan today based on a mortgage. This debtors will be the mortgage that will lie over here. Understood? This arrangement is a formal way of, Yes, Shiva, I share all these things every day on my Telegram channel. I hope you have subscribed to my Telegram channel. Every day in the class, whatever PPT I'm taking, I'm sharing it over there. So now, the problem what they are facing is, in this whole scenario that we told, one is Stamp Duties Act. There is a 12% tax on mortgage. So if you mortgage something, you end up paying 12% duty. That is one thing which demoralizes people from securitization. Second one, taxation. How is the taxation effect? It is very confusing. If you just ask some of your tax faculties, you ask 3 tax faculties, 3 of them will give you 3 different opinions on how to tax securitization. Okay. Accounting point of view, it's an off-balance sheet item. My debtors will come in, Shah Rukh's debtors will come in the books of Shah Rukh Khan only. But it is indirectly sold to somebody else. Last one, there is no standardization. A will do it in one style, B will do it in other style, C will do it in some third other style. These are the main problems that is faced in securitization. Last theory now, methods in which startup firms can bootstrap. What do you mean by the word bootstrap? In simple language, bootstrap means get some money. Startup people don't have money. They need to get some money. How do they get money? They can use 3 methodologies. one is sundry creditors, second one is sundry debtors, okay, and what was the third one? Was leasing. Sundry creditors, what they can do, they can try getting a better credit period. Normally, a sundry creditor will not give you a credit period if you are a startup. But for that, what you can do is you prepare a good project report. Give the project report to the creditor. Tell him, look, I am going to grow very big. Please support me now. Tomorrow, I will support you. That way, they will be motivated to give you better credit period. As far as the debtors are concerned, initially they don't pay money. You hire a factor or a securitization agency. All right, get money in advance. Your liquidity problem will be solved. Even though you pay some commission, you can focus on your business rather than focusing on running behind money. Last one, assets. Don't purchase any assets. Take all the assets on lease. For example, don't buy a computer. Take a computer on rent. Buying a computer, you pay 50,000. Taking on rent, you pay only 3,000, 4,000. Once you start making money, use that money and you can buy a computer. These are the three methods in which a startup company can bootstrap. Okay, first one trade credit, other one factoring, last one leasing. So friends, have you understood so far? Loganathan, today I'll upload day 2 PPT also. I hope you are clear with this part also, friends. Shall we pack up today's session? I will do one thing. Tomorrow being Thursday, I will take SFM. Alright. Let me start SCMP case study RTP in the right flow rather than doing it in middle. Thursday and Saturday also I am going to do SFM only. I will do other important questions like one of the questions that's told over here was Sunidhi. So whatever request you have for SFM important questions to be done, please let me know. So my plan goes like this. What is today's date? Today is 7th October. 12th I start off with SCMPE. So today is 7th. 8th and 10th 2 days I am having, right? Tomorrow is 8th. I will do Sunidhi problem. And I will do a problem on bond refunding. Right? And there is a deadly problem on cancellation of forward contract, which many people are asking. I think this question will take 1 hour. I will take complete 1 hour to solve this problem. Alright. If you have any other request, please let me know. After that, coming Monday, I will start with SCMPE. I will go faster. Monday to Wednesday, 3 days, I will complete SCMPE RTP. Alright. Once this is over, maybe what I will do, then we will plan about what has to be done next. Next would be IFM and derivative. I will do the study material problems. Let me go in this way. And then I will do what? SFM theory. Is that okay with all of you friends? So this way I'll be covering everything maybe by 20th or 25th. Let's see. And I will go a little bit more faster compared to this. Yes, Sriram, bond refunding I'm doing tomorrow. I'm doing this one also tomorrow. Alright? Fine. Before I pack up today's session, whose name have I written on the board? Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger was one of the greatest bodybuilders of all times. After that, he became one of the best movie actors of all times. After that, he also became the governor of California. Today, I will share with you one simple lesson on this one. At the age of 23, he actually got Mr. Olympia. After that, he kept on winning Mr. Olympia non-stop, and he actually became one of the persons who had the maximum Mr. Olympia awards. Later on, it was broken by one other person later on, that's recently only. That time, Arnold one fine day decided, I want to stop my bodybuilding and I want to get into acting. When he told this, his friends told him, my dear friend, please don't stop your acting career, don't stop your bodybuilding career. You go into acting, you will become a total disaster. People will not respect you. You will be a disaster, you will become a failure for life. Arnold asked him, why do you say I will become a failure? His friend told him, look here, 2 reasons. Reason number 1, very simple. You are not an actor. You don't know how to act. You don't have the expressions also. What will you do going into acting? Reason number 2, you are a bodybuilder. You have a huge body. With this huge body, you go into the acting field. Nobody will accept you. People like Tom Cruise are only accepted over there. Arnold kept quiet. He started searching for movie roles. 3 years, no roles at all. Then he started getting movie roles, but total failure movie roles. Finally, he ended up coming for a movie called as Terminator. For this movie of Terminator, the role was that of a robot. I hope you have seen that movie. So, the ideal criteria for the director for this movie of Terminator was the person who is acting for this movie should look like a robot, for which you should have a robotic body. Arnold had a well built robotic body. The second criteria was being a robot, you should not have expressions. You should not be a talented actor. Arnold did not have expressions. He was not a talented actor. Like that, he got selected for the role of Terminator, and friends, Terminator became one of the best selling movies of all times. He got Oscar, and even last year I believe there was a movie which came up. Later on in his interview, Arnold told this, look, people are always focusing on the problem. They kept on telling me, I can't do, I can't do, I can't do. Whenever someone tells me, I can't do, I make sure that I do it, because if I can do that, I would understand that this is something what nobody else has ever done. When I used to do bodybuilding, I tried lifting heavy weights on my chest. Some people told me, don't do it because normally people don't do. I did it because then I become the only person who could do it. So one very important message what Arnold shared over here is that people focus on problem, but for every problem there is an underlying opportunity. So friends, rather than focusing on the problem, if you start focusing on the opportunity, only then you will succeed. So friends, right now you are all facing a lot of problems. Just close your eyes and think, is this a problem or is this an opportunity? If you think it as an opportunity, you will get more opportunities coming up and you will become successful. So my message to all of you today is, friends, every problem is an opportunity. Thank you so much, friends. See you tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Have a nice time. Alright friends, I have shared everything live in front of you. Thank you so much, Chitralekha.